Good morning. Welcome to the last day here at SMTConnect. It's been a busy week. We've had some fantastic panel discussions and some pretty lively debates on the morning show. So check out the one we had yesterday on Brexit and world politics. That was kind of interesting. Joining me, of course, for the show wrap-up is my old friend and colleague, Mike Skinner from U.S Tech. Nice to see you, Mike.
Thank you, Trevor. It's nice to be here.
So it's been a busy week in some ways. Traffic maybe a little bit lighter. What's been your takeaways from the show?
That's a little bit similar. I think a lot of people at this show, it seems to be a little bit more local, European show. Many, majority of German companies are here.
Yeah.
And definitely it feels light because a lot of people are holding back for Productronica.
Right.
And even some companies that do a lot of business in the U.S. are waiting to demo new machines even for Apex.
I mean, that's typical of a Productronica year. People hold back for that. So there's not been a huge amount of new innovation here this week, although there has been some interesting things to see. I think my biggest takeaway was on the ASUS booth, they had a router. But this router has been set up and manufactured in such a way that it can do 20 and a half shifts without any human intervention. So that's like a complete week.
Wow.
Without a human near it. So that's the first step that I've really seen towards the lights out factory.
Yeah.
You know,
wow, that's amazing.
Isn't it? Yeah. So are you seen anything around the show yet?
I think I saw one thing at the Nordson Dage booth I thought was pretty neat. They have a new lower cost X-ray inspection system.
Yes.
And it's the first one that they've developed with this patent pending lead-free shielding inside.
That's quite unique, isn't it?
That was very interesting.
They did tell me a little bit about the technology around that, but we can't talk about it, of course. But we can talk about the fact that it is lead-free, which is environmentally friendly. It's making it a lot greener and easier to work with. So what else did you went to visit the smart manufacturing line? How did that go?
This is really neat over here, in Hall 5. I think this is the year of like the smart factory demo lines at these shows. But this one is a fully functioning production line, from storage and board routing all the way around, about 30 machines, kind of a little bit of everything, to end of line test. And they're doing tours where they, you basically load the board and it scans it and places all the components and everything all the way around.
Right.
And there's a few kind of interesting things in there too. One partnership with Mentor Siemens, where they have an Amazon Alexa hooked up to the station just before the end of line test, where you can ask it questions like, Alexa, how many boards have we run today? Alexa, how many components were on board X? And that's kind of interesting because it reminds me of the beginning of the year at CES in Vegas, where so many of those companies were all demonstrating some kind of application for Alexa. So it's neat to see that kind of like crop up in this industry.
There you go. So the plant manager doesn't have to go down and ask the operator what happened. He can ask Alexa. And
I think too, the implication also, is that if you can ask it questions, at some point you'll be able to control things by speaking, which is so much more efficient.
Absolutely.
If you can just talk to the machine and tell it to do something,
that
makes a lot more sense than having to.
Yeah, that's coming in across a lot of applications, not just in manufacturing. One of the things I saw in the Panasonic booth, which is next door to us here, is of course they've got an automatic AGV robot which is loading feeder banks.
I saw that. Yeah.
So that's quite cool, because one of the big anomalies in this smart factory thing is how do you manage to continuously load a pick and place machine without a human operator?
Yeah.
Well, this is how it's done.
And it's pretty quick too. I mean, it doesn't take a long time, and you can see as it's adjusting its distances from as it's moving forward into the feeder bank, it's adjusting the
positioning,
distance, the positioning, between the bumpers, and it locks it into place, and then the AGV can drive out.
Excellent, yeah. And over on the Juki booth, they brought in a quite neat little innovation where they've put barcoding on all of their nozzles, which is very good for tracing the performance and life expectancy of the nozzles, and it battles the counterfeits.
Yeah, ongoing counterfeiting. Yeah.
So pretty good. So that's all the new things I think we've seen at the show this week. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about the wider industry.
The LBT210 soldability tester is easy and safe to use, modular with up to 8 test options, packed with feature-rich software providing full traceability. Test your components, substrates, paste, flux or wetting forces. The LB210 provides accurate and reliable results every time.
Try first. Don't just say, I can't. Try and find a way to do it.
We will exceed your expectations.
Nice to meet you. We are Omron.
And welcome back. So, Mike, let's take a wider look at the industry in general. There's been some signs of a slowdown in some manufacturing, people holding back a little bit from people that we're talking to this week. Have you detected that?
Yeah, I've had many conversations this week just around just general uncertainty in the marketplace because of two main reasons. One, Brexit, which you're very familiar with, and then as well the tariffs, the trade war between China and the U.S. that we've discussed a little bit in the past.
Right. Yeah.
Those are really damping people's expectations of growth for the whole year, and also, you know, we don't really know how long it's going to go on.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, I think actually people are looking at this as becoming an ongoing situation, this tariff situation. Even if it's settled this time around, they reckon that this administration and future administrations will come back to revisit it. So a lot of companies are starting to look at China as a no-go area to set up business, and they're setting up elsewhere.
I think, yeah, and that's definitely... The trade war is definitely a big factor of that. Also, like you mentioned earlier, labor costs in China are rising. The middle class is starting to expect more, you know, out of life. They don't want to just go work in a factory for 16 hours a day.
Right.
So we see companies, you know, companies that have in the past been mainly China-based now starting to move elsewhere, either to Taiwan or to Malaysia or to India. And one specific example here, I was speaking with one man who said his company, his technical center in Malaysia, they're expanding to do volume production of their dispensing machines because there is no tariff between Malaysia and the U.S.
and the United States, yeah. No, it's an ongoing situation. And as I said to Keith yesterday, it's disappointing, or it's concerning when governments get involved in our business because they make sweeping changes. Anyway, I want to thank you for taking part today and joining us again, and look forward to maybe seeing you at the next show, which I'm not quite sure where that's going to be yet. It could be SEMICON West, but it's probably going to be SMTA in Chicago. Okay,
yeah, I'll be at both of those, so I'll see you at one of them.
Okay,
yeah.
All right,
thank you, Trevor.
Okay, so that wraps it up for this week at SMT Connect. I hope you've enjoyed our programming, and I hope you watch out for our panel discussions. Some of them have been really quite lively and quite good. So thank you for joining us, and see you next time.